Hey y'all, it is cookout season, and one thing I love about cookouts are the sides. And today we're gonna make one of my favorite side dishes, coleslaw, but we're gonna do it 3 different ways. First, we're gonna start with a creamy traditional coleslaw. Then we're gonna do a red vinegar slaw like they do in North Carolina. And then the last one, we are going to do a Jamaican coleslaw inspired by my family's heritage. All right, let's get started. For any coleslaw recipe, we're gonna do 2 things. First, we're gonna make a base of our salad ingredients, which I'm going to use cabbage as well as carrot and onion. And then we'll also make, the second part will be making the dressing. So for my coleslaw, I'm going to somewhat try to cut this big old cabbage in half because I'm not going to use the whole thing. It's actually pretty big. I'm going to cut this into 4ths. And I'm going to make, like I said, a bunch of coleslaw today, but I'm only going to use half of this one for my traditional slaw. And when I'm cutting my slaw, I'm gonna get rid of the really tough center. And I'm gonna run this through my food processor for my slaw base. Now, the reason why I am prepping my ingredients rather than buying the coleslaw in the bag is because a lot of times those pieces are just a little bit too big. I like my coleslaw shredded finely. And in addition, a lot of times those coleslaw bags are just usually a little bit drier. So whenever you make it fresh, it's just gonna taste better, in my opinion. And then I've got a sweet onion here, and I'm just going to use just a little bit of that onion. This is a large onion. You wanna use about 1/3 of a regular sweet onion. And I'm just cutting these large enough or small enough to fit through my food processor. All right, so I've got my food processor here. I love this thing. I am going to be using the medium shredding one just for I'm gonna cut these big pieces of cabbage, cut them a little bit smaller so they can actually fit through the tube. And we're gonna shred this. Go down. Actually more than like 1/3 of onion, that's a lot of onion. My onion. Boom, boom. All right, let's see what it looks like. Forget those big pieces on the top, but these are our vegetables that we're going to use in our coleslaw. I'm going to dump that in a bowl and set it to the side. And now I'm going to make my dressing for my coleslaw. So now that we have prepped our veggies, let's go ahead and get our coleslaw sauce popping. So I'm going to use some mayonnaise. I want about 1/2 cup. I'm going to put that in the bottom of the bowl. And we're going to add a little bit of sweetness. So I'm doing about 3 tablespoons of granulated sugar. And then we're going to add our acidic portion, which we're going to do about 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. We're gonna add some buttermilk, another acidic component, but also will make it nice and creamy. And a little bit of fresh lemon juice, about 1 tablespoon. Like 3 seeds trying to get in there. I just want the juice. All right, we're just gonna whisk this. We're also gonna add a little bit of salt and pepper. That, feel free to measure with your heart. Watch me add too much pepper. You know how we doing sometimes. Oh, that's actually a good amount. Now that we've made our base, we're just gonna add all those veggies to that bowl. And we're gonna toss it until it's combined. Yummy, 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 yummy. All right, so now that we have basically made our coleslaw, we're gonna go ahead and put this in the fridge, cover it and put it in the fridge and let it chill. And once it's chilled, we can eat it. However, you could also eat it right now if you want to, which I'm probably gonna do because I'm hungry. But anyways, I'm gonna show you 2 more ways to make coleslaw. Now to coleslaw recipe number 2, a vinegar-based coleslaw. Now to do this, I'm gonna actually start with my dressing in the bowl, and I'm gonna use a whole 1/2 cup of ketchup. Look at that. All right, that's enough. I'm just gonna add that right into my big bowl. Then I'm gonna add some apple cider vinegar, a whole 1/3 of a cup. I like sugar in my coleslaw. So we're gonna do just 2.5 tablespoons of granulated sugar. Now my vinegar slaw recipe calls for some red pepper flakes for some spice. I usually add about a teaspoon. Today I'm just gonna cut that back ever so slightly to just half a teaspoon, but if you like spice, go ahead and add the full teaspoon. To balance some of that sweetness and acidity, we're gonna add a teaspoon of kosher salt. And I'm gonna do a healthy teaspoon of ground black pepper. And then for my final ingredient for this, I guess sauce, I'm gonna add some hot sauce, just a couple of dashes, and I'm using Texas Pete that's made in North Carolina. And you're just gonna whisk that until that's combined. Give her a little taste, see if you like it. Perfection. All right, now let's get to our vegetables. So for our vegetables for this slaw, we are going to use purple cabbage as well as some green onions. And to prep my cabbage, I am going to remove that really tough inner part. There we go. And I'm gonna chop these in my food processor, but I'm gonna give it a head start and chop them into smaller pieces. And I'm gonna make it fine like I do with all my coleslaw, because I like it fine. All right. I think I've chopped it, and I'm going to add this to my food processor separately from my green onions just to make it easier for my food processor to handle it. And do it in batches. And so you don't want it too fine like mush, but this is a perfect texture. And I'm just going to add that to my dressing. And then it's all going in the same place, so I'm not even going to rinse that out. But I am gonna chop off the little hairy ends of my green onion. Give it a nice head start. And add that to my food processor as well. Gonna add this to my bowl that already has our dressing on the bottom. I'm probably gonna wanna remove that whisk. Get you 2 big old spoons and toss that dressing in that sauce. That looks amazing. And when you have stirred it up enough, all your cabbage will be nice and glossy. I am gonna let this chill after I taste it because why not? So now this is our vinegar coleslaw. I'm gonna put this up, and now we're gonna go to our third cabbage recipe, Jamaican coleslaw. Here's number 3, Jamaican-style coleslaw. Now, coleslaw isn't something that I really grew up eating in Jamaica. We usually like steamed cabbage as our side dish at my house, but sometimes I like to do a different spin on coleslaw. Look at this. So I'm gonna make my sauce again. We're gonna use about 3/4 cups of mayo. I'm gonna add 1/4 cup of vinegar, 2 tablespoons of lime juice, 2 tablespoons of brown. Very good. That's what I get. My brown sugar is all like mad at me. It's mad at me and hard. So I'm gonna add some ground ginger to this, just to add a little bit of flavor and kick. Gonna add 1/2 teaspoon. Some other traditional Caribbean flavors. Just 1/4 teaspoon of allspice. Too much allspice will make it bitter and overwhelming. And 1/4 teaspoon of ground nutmeg. And then I'm gonna whisk that together. But I'm gonna add a little bit of salt. Just a pinch of it to balance those flavors. Oh, that's really good. And if you don't want to put this over coleslaw, if you just wanted a regular salad, this could be a delicious salad dressing. All right, now let's get to our veggies. Woo! All right, so for my vegetables for this slaw, I'm going to go back to my green cabbage, carrots, and I'm going to prep it by removing those hard spots. And we're only going to use half a head of lettuce. It should equal about 4 cups of cabbage. And for this one, I'm going to add, well, typically if I could find Scotch bonnet pepper, I would add Scotch bonnet pepper, but I can't find any, so I'm going to use a habanero. I am going to cut it. If you do not like any spice, just leave this out, please. And be careful with habaneros. The spice is in any kind of pepper. The spice is in the membrane and the seeds, so I am going to remove that. You should use gloves if you're handling them, if you're scared that you'll touch your eyeballs, because then your eyeballs will burn. All right, I'm only going to add a little bit of pepper just for that spice and that extra bit of oomph. All right, let's go ahead and get to my food processor. So I'm back to this shredder part, and I'm going to start with my cabbage pieces. Hopefully I cut them small enough. I did. All right. And if you don't have a food processor, you could use a grater. You could also just cut it really finely, whatever you like to do. Now I'm going to get to my carrots, and I'm going to add 2 whole carrots to this one. Let me start this way. And then I add my little pieces of pepper because I like a little spice, just a little. Boom. We have done prepping our veggies, and this is what it looks like for now. Now I'm gonna dump this in my sauce. So I'm gonna throw those veggies right into that dressing. Make sure I get all of it. Gosh, I just love coleslaw. Like, I just love the way it looks. It's just so fresh and yummy, yummy, yum, yum. And although this looks just like our creamy coleslaw, we have got a lot of different flavors going on in this one. Toss it, toss it, toss it. I made a mess. All right, now to taste this coleslaw. Nice kick. All right, I'm gonna let this chill as well, and I'll be back to show you all 3 coleslaws. And there you have it, friends. Coleslaw 3 different ways. Now for my traditional creamy coleslaw, I'm putting this on everything. Barbecue, especially with the thick barbecue sauce, fried fish, oh my gosh. This vinegar-based coleslaw, which has no mayo in it, I'm using this on my Carolina-style barbecue that is made with vinegar because it just reminds me of red slaw. I call it red slaw, even though, you know, whatever. And then this Jamaican coleslaw, whenever I'm eating my favorite traditional Jamaican dishes, I am eating some coleslaw on the side as well. Let's talk about like jerk chicken, jerk fish, jerk pork, my favorite. All right, guys, all of these recipes can be found over on my blog at myforkinglife.com. Feel free to make them. Feel free to enjoy them. Until the next time, bye. Go ahead and pack these up. I got pepper in my eye. I'm gonna cry. It's so good. No, it's really pepper in my eye. How did I get pepper in my eye?